All right, welcome to the September 2nd, 2021 Town of Concord Historic Districts Commission meeting. This meeting is being called to order at 7:04 p.m., I declare. We will review 3 continued public hearings, and we have 1 new application to look at, and I think we have some additional business at the end. But let me do a roll call of the commission first. So if let's see, I'm going to go around and just call your name, and all you have to do is say aye. Mia.
Aye.
Dennis.
Aye.
Melinda.
Aye.
Oh gosh, everybody went out of order for a sec. Abby.
Aye.
Luis.
Aye.
Kate.
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. So voting members this evening will be, I think, all 5 permanent. Nope. So it's beside myself, Nia, Luis, Melinda, and how about Dennis? Dennis, will you mind voting tonight?
Sure.
All right, Dennis will be the permanent voter. Or the, whatever we're going to call ourselves. Okay, so we're conducting the meeting online, obviously, in accordance with the Commonwealth of Mass Executive Order, continuing to suspend certain provisions of the meeting law. Somebody needs to mute their phone. I don't know who that was. Okay. The public may access this call through phone and video. Members of the public will have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on applications and discussions following the petitioner's presentation and questions from the commission. To do so, to ask a question, please raise your hand using the Zoom participant function, or if you're on the phone, *9, or wave at us. We'll get your attention. You'll get our attention one way or another. We may mute. In fact, I'll ask everyone to please mute other than commissioners, just to keep the background noise at a minimum. I will call on each commissioner for comments on an application after the presentation, and then after that, open the meeting for public comment. Once there are no more public comments, I'll ask for a motion from the commission to continue to approve with conditions, or not approve. A second, and we'll do a roll call vote. And once the commission has acted on an application, the petitioner is free to go. So, clear as mud. We are on our way. All right, so our first victim this evening, 51 Walden Street. So I shouldn't joke about that. I really don't mean victim. This is a certificate of appropriateness to install HVAC and related equipment. We've seen this presentation, but maybe Heather, could you put the application up if possible? And I think Carol, Holly, are you going to do the presenting? Oh, you're muted.
Yep, I'm happy to.
There you are. All right, welcome back, Holly,
Thank you.
and welcome back, Carol. And I don't know who else is here from the client side, but take it away.
First of all, we are now on the first 2 slides, our first 2 pictures, images that you see of the roof. We have our delay in getting back to you is that we have been an extensive redesign of the system, and we will no longer be putting anything up on the roof. So all of that structure in the photos 1 and 2, those proposals, we're only doing the fence on this side. The only outdoor equipment will be on the ground along this part of the building.
Gotcha.
And it has our design engineer got COVID. There have been a lot of delays. So we now have a plan, which we just got very recently from them. And it will involve equipment on this side. The equipment on this side is fairly large. There's one large piece that's 15 feet long and 2 smaller pieces that are each 4 feet long. So we will need at least the 25 to 30 foot fence on this side. The fence will be a little further out. It'll be very close to the property line. And so it may have more verticals to allow for the removal of panels in order to service the equipment, because we will be so close to the property line. And we'll be working with First Parish on getting permission to change filters if we need to, things like that from their side of the property here. And so that is the change in the design. We've had one company, a fairly large Reliable Fencing, who you've seen around a lot. They couldn't send me a graphic exactly of this, but what it will be is there will be a horizontal on a horizontal bar. They don't make units this tall, 8 feet tall, without a horizontal. The equipment itself is not that tall. It's only 5'6", but I believe it has to be raised off the ground just because of potential, damage from snow and reducing the capacity of the equipment. So that is our proposal stands, just this, and these will return to the building. And I'm sorry that I don't have a better graphic for you of this, and we can come back with that once we, because it's going to, I asked Reliable Fencing if they would do that. They don't do that. I asked them if there was a place I could go and take a photograph, and that's not possible. So we may have to find a custom fencing company in order to get the level of detail we want on this. But right now we want approval to place the equipment on this side of the building along the path. Yes, where Heather's showing, and that is our request tonight.
Okay, thank you, Holly. May I ask a question about, now we don't know what's happening to the bank at the moment. I think that property is, correct me if I'm wrong, is it under development? I don't really remember what.
The sign on it says for rent. It still has a for rent sign.
Okay. Okay, well, I'm thinking about it is acoustical, any noise issues. Is the equipment pretty well insulated? We're far enough away that sound will dissipate?
Well, we're very concerned about the acoustics because we don't want it vibrating into the building, obviously. And this is a public path here. I've just pulled up the zones, and I don't think I fully understand how to read their charts in the on the equipment. But so I can't answer that adequately at this moment.
Well, I guess I'm happy that we're not right up against a residential property anyway. Just
No, and it won't
Yes.
impact. The bank is a brick building,
Right.
and there's a whole driveway, so you can see even from this plan, the bank, that building and whatever is ever allowed to be there is far enough away that that's not an issue.
Okay,
We
I
just don't
suppose,
want people on the path blown off the path by the noise.
right. Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Holly. And why don't I go around the commission and see if folks have any thoughts or comments or questions? Nia?
Hi, Holly, how are you?
I'm fine. Hi, Nia.
Okay, I'm just, I understand the equipment, I understand the fence. Just clarify for me the height of the fence. I know it's 25 feet long. I see 4, 6, and 8 feet.
Well, what I was hoping originally to do is to step it up, to not have it be all one height, so there'd be some variation. I think in the end, it may be that that's not really feasible. I'm just looking again at the dimensions, because I think we will make it as short as we can, but it may be 8 feet tall, given that the equipment's 5'6". We could, if we have to raise the equipment 18 inches, which was originally proposed, that takes us to 7'6". So an 8-foot fence looks like it's going to be necessary.
All right. And the horizontal bar, I'm just trying to visualize this. I'm assuming halfway up the fence at 4 feet, you've got a horizontal bar, or did I misunderstand that?
Well, there'll be a horizontal. I think you could probably do that at 6 feet. You know, that might be more interesting looking than at 4 feet.
Okay, all right, okay. And I know the graphic is not what you may necessarily end up with, and I know that you want air around this equipment. But to me, those holes are very large, and I can't imagine it's going to do a whole lot of screening. And I wondered if you could comment on that, please.
Well, it has to be large, obviously, because it will be right next to the equipment to allow
Okay.
for ventilation, because the clearance, we only own 9 feet on this side of the building.
Okay,
And with all the clearances, the fence will be right very close to the equipment. I think what we would like to do is enter into a conversation with First Parish about potentially paying for and maintaining some greenery on this side,
Hmm.
okay,
and try to do a screen, you know, something to soften this, and because 25 feet is fairly long.
yeah,
So we have not, since we just this week got the final, you know, plan that will work, which we think will work. We're hoping will work. We have not had a chance to
to
go
do
back
that.
to Parish, right?
Okay, and finally, the color of the fence to be the same as the building, or is that white? What are we thinking?
Well, that was my thought, was to paint it the color of the building, but it can
Mhm.
also be natural, but then it will just gray over
Mhm.
time. And
Okay.
and I don't know, I don't have a strong preference either way.
All right. Okay, those are my questions. Thank
Okay.
you, Holly.
Thanks, Nia. Dennis, any questions?
Sorry, unmuted.
Yep, there you are.
I'm new to this and I don't know if I have much of a say because you discussed this when I was not at meetings. So I'm, you know, that's sort of unfair that I'm new to it. But I agree that this is very open, so I don't know what it's going to cover very well. But today I did have a chance to drive by the Concord Museum, and Holly, I don't know what that equipment is in back, but they have a horizontal slat fence with space in between that gives much more screening and to those mechanicals. And now they planted in front of it, and it actually looks quite, I mean, I don't like it there, but it looks quite nice. So I'm just, you know, I don't want to throw a monkey wrench into it and say you have to redesign, but that may be an option to take a look at, because I think most of the mechanicals for the new building are behind the original brick building and behind a slat fence.
Right. No, I think we're happy to look at anything. We just we just have to meet certain standards for ventilation for the equipment, and
True.
and it won't be the same at all heights. And it could be that a slat fence would work because in some locations it might be wide open, it might be variegated, and so that might be very interesting. So, and the building with the shingle coursing running horizontally, of course, that also would relate to that. So
anyway, it's a thought.
Yep, no, that's not a bad idea at all.
That's it, Dennis.
That's my comments.
All right, thank you. Melinda.
So I like Dennis's idea, but I also like the idea of seeing if First Parish will throw some shrubbery in front of it. Obviously, with those great big squares, you're not really hiding anything at all. So something needs to go in front of it. But I'm sure you'll work that out.
Yes, and I think the purpose of the fence, and the fence will return to the building because we are concerned about security. We don't, you know, we don't want anyone playing with the equipment. So we do want it more contained, I think.
Okay, thank you, Melinda. Luis.
My impression is that this fence has to be large enough or tall enough so that it will become a structural component of the building, at least from a visual standpoint.
Mhm.
In other words, it's not something else that was added to, but it's part of the building itself. So from that perspective, I think that it has to have some common elements with the main building, so it sort of resonates, at least visually, with it. I think that the amount of transparency that the current fence has is it's too much to serve that purpose. But I think that with just a few architectural or architectonic elements consistent of horizontal segments, that transparency can be essentially defeated. That's the word that I want to use. And make that whole fence appear as it is, at least from a visual standpoint, almost like part of the building, and help conceal the machinery that's behind it. And of course, vegetation is a crucial component of the whole solution. But I think that overall, it's the solution that it's available, and that I won't have any objection to pursue it.
Okay.
Thank you, Luis. Abby,
So, I mean, I think my general feedback is there's no way we can make a decision tonight because there's just too many moving parts and too many design decisions that haven't been made yet. And I understand the scheduling and how this, backed up and all the rest of it. I think my general feedback is similar to other people's. It's incredibly tall. It's incredibly open. I don't think it'll actually effectively screen anything. And so I think it actually would just draw more attention to the equipment than anything else. So I'd like to see something that is as low as possible, given, of course, that the equipment has to be elevated off the ground. But once you have an actual, specific dimensions and height of where they'll be placed, how high they'll be, and then it needs to be either this style of fence in combination with evergreen planting, or a different style of fence, because this just won't effectively screen the equipment, in my opinion. So I just like to see the applicant come back with a solid design plan that has less ambiguity in it, and that would offer actually more screening for the equipment.
all right, thank you, Abby. I think we lost Kate. Did we lose Kate? I think she dropped off. Okay. All right, I think I see where, so Holly, do you agree that there's maybe one more round where there's a final design? What I don't know is what your deadlines are.
Yeah, what I would like, Peter, if possible, is a consensus that there will be a way to make this work, to be able to have the equipment on this side. How we cover it, I absolutely will come back with a more final plan. And one of the other things that this doesn't represent is you can see the huge metal box right to the right of the tree. We have to be 13 feet away from that, it turns out. That is all the power for the building. And so the fence itself is going to be shifted even further back from Walden Street. It'll be at least 13 feet back from that. It's over 50 feet back from Walden Street. And that, that would be helpful. You can see already on this plan how far back it was, and it's shifting another 13 feet back. So from Walden Street, I don't think it's going to be much of an issue. It's more that this is a commonly used path, and I obviously want it to be as attractive as possible. So we are very happy to work on the fence design and on potentially doing some plantings on the property of First Parish, if permitted, to screen it. But I don't have any other location to put any air conditioning equipment for this building. The roof is very understructured for that prospect. we would have to do an addition to the building to get a strong roof, and it would have to be quite sizable. So
Okay.
so we would like to be able to move forward with the design of the air conditioning and the ordering of the equipment for that. Not because summer is coming, since summer is going, but because we did get a grant, a state grant for the for installing the air conditioning, and for COVID, we want to get positive air movement in the building as soon as we can. So with a full schedule of events coming up in the building this fall. So therefore, if people are understanding that they think we can solve the problem of screening this, and that it's okay to go ahead with plans for the HVAC in this location, that would be wonderful for us.
Okay. I mean, if I'm reading the committee's comments, commission's comments, I don't think people are objecting to the equipment or the location. I think it's really just the aesthetics of the screen and sort of the functionality, how. So I think we trust you, we know you. So that's my sense. Luis?
I just wanted to comment that there are additional ancillary structures that need to be covered. So maybe an applicant could make a design which encompasses all those visual components of that side of the building. You see that big transformer could also be screened and be made harmonious with the screening of the AC units and so forth. I think it's just a way to approach the issue. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, why don't, do folks, anybody on the commission have other thoughts or comments, or can we go to public comment? I'm looking at, okay. Well, why don't we go ahead and open it up? Is there any public comment on the application for 51 Walden Street to install HVAC equipment and screening? There's Don Kupka, I see, has raised his hand. Don, do you want to?
Hi, yes,
There you
hi.
are.
I'm Don Kupka from 39 Devon Street. And my question is, if there will be ductwork entering, at what elevation will the ductwork be going into the building? Will it be higher than the unit in the fence?
Right. Good question. And that is one of the other reasons we had a delay, because for a while they were going to try to duct it up the side of the building and come in through the roof. And we've been able to eliminate that option. So the ductwork will be going in behind the equipment, not above the equipment.
Great. Thanks, Holly.
Yeah.
All right. And Carol, you have your hand up. Carol Wayland.
Yes, I'm the executive director of 51 Walden, and I just wanted to let you know that we've certainly been challenged by the COVID conditions, but 2 weeks ago, we had a very successful performance of Mozart's The Magic Flute in the building, with 70 people in the orchestra and the principals and chorus, and an audience of 150 people twice on Saturday night and Sunday. Clearly, there's an appetite for our continuing performances of an astounding quality at 51 Walden. On that weekend, which was the 14th and 15th, it was sweltering, and we have not, got the ventilation and AC installed yet. So we had doors open, of course, for ventilation, not only for comfort, but for COVID ventilation, which led to a lot of mosquitoes coming into the building. So, it's a, that was unfortunate. I don't think we lost too many people because the performance was incredible. I think Concord should be very proud of what goes on there, and that people are willing to come into the building to see, you know, a Mozart opera, which was performed with full orchestra and incredible leads. I'm very proud of what goes on here, but we clearly need to have good ventilation and AC. It's a historic building built in 1887. It's difficult to stuff ventilation equipment into, you know, an older building with no thought to ventilation at the time it was constructed, but clearly it's needed now, and we have the resources to do it. So we're very interested in proceeding with this project so that all of the people in Concord and surrounding towns can enjoy the performances which we put on.
All right, thank you, Carol. Is there other public comment? I'm looking around the gallery here, the Zoom room. I don't see any other raised hands. Don't see any physical raised hands. All right, well, why don't we bring it back to the commission? So I think I'm looking for a motion that will, this is my opinion, that will allow the applicant to order the HVAC equipment, because I personally know that the lead times on that stuff is a bit of a nightmare right now, frankly. Nia.
Peter, I'm perfectly happy with the equipment, but I think it would be prudent for us to put some sort of time frame on the screening. We've been down this road before.
Okay.
We don't want a year from now to have these units having been installed for 6 months and there's still no sign of a design or screening. Holly, this is no, you know, reflection on you. It's just, you understand we've been here before. So that would be my recommendation. And I just wondered if the other commissioners agree or whether I'm being over the top.
Well, let me ask the applicant, Holly, how long do you think it would take to produce a design for us? Could you
Well,
come back and
yeah, rather than that, it may be that from the time, you know, we're not going to, I'm trying to think of the cart before the horse, whether there's any, no, let's just go ahead. Yeah, I don't know. This has been, we've had so much trouble with the engineering. We have just had delay after delay. And so to get the final specs, even out of the engineers, it would be great for us to have at least 4 months, I would say. It's because to get everything finalized, to know that the equipment that they have shown me, that I have specs on here, is the equipment we're going to be able to use. We didn't come back because they started substituting things, and I didn't want to come in with, you know, presentation after presentation every time they change the equipment. So I really want to make sure we're installing what I think we're installing when I ask you that we need a fence 25 feet or 30 feet or whatever it is, and the height, and I'll make it as low as we can make it. So we're going to need time to make sure we're getting the equipment that we think we are getting.
Gotcha. So I guess what I'm wondering is, I mean, I think you probably have a sense of the commission. There's really no strong objection to the project. It's just the particulars. The question is whether we all, including you, think we should just, you know, continue the hearing to when you order the equipment and then do it all at once, or if you want sort of a conditional approval. And I'm looking at the commission. I don't know, Nia,
And
just to follow on.
building-
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the building inspector will require to, if in order to get permission to put in the equipment,
Right.
we have to have something from the HDC. And I guess what we can commit to you is that within 2 months of the equipment going up, we will have a fence around it. And it will be a fence that you will have approved, because we don't want it sitting out there either, for its own safety and for the, impression
Security.
people have of 51 Walden. So knowing that the equipment's going to take time, I have no, problem telling you we would have it fenced within 2 months of its installation.
So Mia, following on your thing, my sense is we would approve it with the condition that the final fence design will come along after once the equipment is ordered or something like that. Dennis, were you going to say something?
Well, I just, now I'm feeling insecure about the size of the equipment, because you're saying you don't know what the equipment is? Is it going to be bigger? Is it going to be smaller? Is it, what are we fencing at this point?
We know the equipment we think we're getting, but as Peter referenced, it's hard to get things. The ordering on everything is backed up, and so substitutions sometimes get made. And so instead of, I might think we could have a 6-foot fence, but it ends up an 8-foot because of a change, or vice versa.
Well, I don't want to make you wait, but Peter, couldn't we at least have her touch base with Heather just to report, just to verify what the equipment is, so we can make sure that we know what we're covering here, and just to verify that whatever we think we're covering.
Well, my sense is the approval would essentially require the applicant to come back once the equipment is finalized and ordered. That would trigger a revisit to us to approve the fence design, which
Right. I'm just trying not to hold them up. I don't know if
that's right.
But I just want to make sure we know what the equipment is. That's all.
Right. I'm unclear at this point, like how many condensers there are going to be, the size of each condenser. I'm not clear if that's what was submitted in the original application, or do we not know that?
I have specifications for the equipment that's going on the outside, and but in this economy, substitutions are made. And so if we're ready to pull the trigger, and we signed a contract in January, we've been working with a firm that has a contract since January, trying to get this moving. And so it's been challenging. And I can give you, I can send you, Heather, the equipment that is currently specified, but when they go to order it, and if we tell them they can order it, then next week they go to order it, hopefully they can get that. I mean, that's kind of where we're at. The equipment doesn't change that much in size. You go from one company to another. This is big kind of industrial. Well, one unit is fairly industrial. It's a 15-foot long unit. These
are air handlers, right?
Yeah.
So I would just assume, Heather, that like any applicant, if there's a change in the approved design, the applicant would come back to us and say, "Oh, I need to amend this certificate." And this may have to happen twice, right? If the equipment gets amended, that's one thing. If the fence design is a second.
So
If I may,
Peter,
Yes, go ahead. Abby.
So there's just two. I'm not comfortable even with a conditional approval of anything. I think the most I'd be comfortable saying is we have no objection to placing HVAC equipment in this location. Once you place the order, then come back to us with the specifications and the fencing. I think that's the cleanest way to do it. And that won't delay the installation, because I assume the order times for these are extended right now. So work with the engineers, select the equipment, place the order, then come back to us with the actual specifications and the design, and we do it in one fell swoop. This feels too piecemeal and more complicated than it needs to be. And I don't think that would delay installation in any way, because I can't imagine that you place the order and the equipment would be there in a few days. That's just not realistic. So I think we could continue the application. And then once the order is submitted, then we have everything in place.
Holly, do you think that will, with the building department, will that, if it's a sort of continuance with no prejudice, is that enough for them?
I don't know, and we are gonna, and the plan of the engineer of the installing firm was to begin doing all the interior work while waiting for the exterior equipment to come. The exterior equipment is the long lead time, as Abby understands, but there is interior work in the building, and we're going to start on that.
Your contractor can get a permit for interior work
Okay.
without HDC approval.
Okay, fine.
As
Then
long
that,
as it doesn't affect the exterior, I can sign off on a permit.
okay, good. Then that would be fine, because yes, the equipment will take a while to get here.
I think Abby's on to something, Holly. I think it's better to wait until the dust sort of settles and just come back one more time.
Right.
Since
right.
there's
That's
really
my
no,
point. I agree
there's
with
no
that.
real
Yeah.
objection to this at all,
Right.
so.
Okay.
Luis, did you have a question, sir?
Yes, I did have a question. See, I don't think that we're making any decision here that it's in our purview. The only thing that the applicant can say is that he or she wants to build a fence of such and such characteristics, whatever she's going to put behind that fence is not our purview.
it
We
is.
can also, well, let me finish. What we designed, what we have a decision on, it's on the way that things look from the outside. So the applicant is forced to put some equipment on one side of the building, and the applicant is perfectly willing to conceal that with a fence. That's what we're going to see, whether it's behind, it's an AC unit or a storage unit or whatever. It's not really our purview. So I don't think that we have anything to approve here. I think that we should express to the applicant our willingness and understanding from the perspective of keeping the historic content of the building as having external equipment placed in that particular position. But I think that the applicant should come back with a specific design that will say that there will be a fence that will have such and such measurements and so forth. Of course, what we have been discussing here is the fact that the applicant still doesn't know she needs a 6 and 8 or 10 feet fence, but that's exactly the reason that she could come back for an administrative change or to modify the thing that has been approved beforehand. I don't think we have any purview in approving anything at this point. I think that Holly should propose an 8 feet fence to be on the safe side. And she's a wise designer, so she can do it with a smaller structure. I'm absolutely certain that she's going to come back and ask for an amendment to the original application that may be approved under those terms.
Okay, well, why don't we, I think we're beating this poor horse. Yes, Nia.
I just think, we do have purview over the equipment because what
Yeah.
we've been seeing so far is we will be able to see the equipment. So until it is proven otherwise, I'm not willing to say we don't have purview.
So here's my sense, gang. I think a continuance makes sense. I think, Holly, I think you probably need to come back to us. If the building department puts up a big red flag and says, well, we can't approve your equipment order or something, then we should talk. And then we may have to do a conditional approval of a quick design. But until that happens, I would say it seems like there's no strong objection to this at all. So it's just really the particulars of what the screening is going to look like. So,
Yep.
So I think there's, again, my sense is one of you all on the commission should make a motion to continue this without prejudice and then we should probably pick a date, Holly.
Yeah,
2
you need
months.
to pick a date.
We have to pick a date to sort of pick it up again. How long do you think we should, you want to say 8 weeks, 6 weeks?
There's a meeting October 7th, October 21st, November 4th, November 18th, December 2nd, December 16th.
God, I need a vacation.
Yeah,
Okay.
really.
I would say that second meeting in October.
October 21st?
Yes,
Okay.
because that gives us almost 2 months to
Settle.
hopefully get this worked out.
Okay.
Okay,
All
I
right,
move,
yeah,
I
thank
move
you.
that we continue the application for 51 Walden Street without prejudice to the meeting on October 21st.
Second,
And I'll just go around, just give me an aye or a nay. Mia,
Aye.
Dennis,
Aye.
Melinda,
Aye.
Luis,
aye.
Abigail,
Hi.
and I'm an aye as well. And I think I got everybody. So good luck. And Holly will pray to the HVAC gods that the order will go through in one, and you'll actually get equipment.
And you'll help me with the First Parish.
Yes, of course I will.
Good.
I know some people there.
Yes, I'm sure
And
you
then,
do.
but please do come back to us if the building department puts up a red flag. Obviously,
Yeah.
we should talk about it and then figure out what the next step would be.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you very much. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
Holly. Thank you, Carol.
Aye.
Thank
All right. Have a good night. All right, folks, thank you for your thorough review of that application. I'm not being sarcastic. All right, our next applicant, 19 Sudbury Road. I see Rosa Hallowell is here, and I apologize again. I missed the site visit this morning. I had a meeting called in Boston, so I hope you didn't serve anything really tasty or anything like that.
No, no.
No. All right. Well, so there was a site meeting, and who was it? Who could you all raise your hands if you were there? The commissioners, was everybody was there. All right. All right. And so I'm not going to read the list. It's a certificate of appropriateness to demolish a single-story addition and construct a new conservatory and some additions and various other modifications to the house and the landscaping. I won't go through the long list. So I see that Rosa, you're here. Your design team is here as well, I think. Yes. Hi, Vivian, and yep, and Fisher Design is here as well. So maybe I will, Heather, if you wouldn't mind, maybe just putting the plans and elevations up, and then why don't I just ask the commissioners, since they all visited the site this morning. Unless, Rosa, was there any new information? Okay. All right, well, let's just see what folks thought of at the site visit. So let me go in reverse order this time. So Abby, I'll pick on you first.
So thanks for hosting us for the site visit this morning. It was certainly very helpful and informative. I think the changes to the design are an improvement in terms of lowering the ridge height of the additional portion over the garage, setting the garage back a few inches. All of that serves to differentiate that additional piece from the rest of the structure, which is something we talked about in the last meeting. So I think that's an improvement. I don't have any objection to that. I don't have any objection to the change in the forward portion with the flat roof and the balustrade. I did have a question about those windows. It looks from the drawing as if the windows, because the change in the pitch in the roof, will be swapped out. Are those original windows that are being changed? And is the proposal that those will match the 4 windows upstairs in the new portion? Does my question make sense?
Yes. And I think probably Vivian's the person to answer with more specificity, but yes, those, there will be, there are a number of windows that have to be swapped out because of the pitch changes. And those 2 will match the new window that's going in above the garage, same size. And they're specifically designed so they're the same, they have the same proportions. So they're not the same size, but they respect the proportions of the old windows.
Okay, and are you replacing the three windows on the center section? I'm calling it the center section, between the main house and the garage. Are those being replaced as well?
I believe so, and the those are windows from the 70s.
Okay.
They are not original to the house.
Okay, and all of the windows will have functional shutters? Is that correct?
Yeah,
You won't use them functionally, but they'll be proportional to be functional.
yeah, I just wish I'd used them earlier this week.
And then, do we have a photograph of the proposed solid fence that is in the rear of the property and will abut what is one Sudbury, but will soon to be a divided lot?
I believe so. I think it is in the application. It's a,
It's almost the very last, it's the very last page. And that's
It's
the
very
universal board
plain.
fence.
yeah, it's a very plain board. There you
Yep,
go.
it's a board
Okay, and
fence.
are the proportions of the fence in the photograph the same? We talked about that you're proposing 6 feet tall with, is it 18 inches of lattice on top?
Yeah.
Okay. And then in terms of exterior light fixtures, how many, can we just review the placement of those? I know there's one over the garage door. And then, yeah,
And
so
one on
there's
the
that one
back
there.
side, and one on the back side of the house.
Okay, you're not proposing any lighting next to the conservatory?
No, that will be a recessed light on
Okay,
the ceiling of the porch.
okay. So the only exterior light fixture changes that are the visible fixtures are in those two, one over the garage and one in the back.
That's right, yeah.
Okay. Then in terms of my only other real question I have is with the solar panels.
Mhm.
Do we have more information on, in terms of we talked a little bit about placement at the site visit today, but in terms of the actual size, the number of panels, I know you're still determining that, but I don't know if you have that information or if that's a piece of the equation that we need to push off to a later discussion.
I think we need to push that off to a later discussion because I have not yet gotten a specific proposal from the solar company.
Okay.
I still am, I'm in touch with the owners in Brookline who got permission through their HTC because it's very hard to get the solar companies to discuss how reflective their products are. And I need to find the most matte version. So I'm hoping to hear back. I suspect they're just out of town for the summer, but I'm hoping to hear back from the folks in Brookline who I'm stalking.
Okay. So I don't know how administratively we want to do that, if we want to sever that from the rest of the application or if we want to continue that piece of it, but that, I think, as Rose just said, we just don't have the information to make informed decision about solar today. But other than that, I don't have strong objections to the proposed changes, and I think the changes from this meeting to last meeting are an improvement in the design. So that's kind of my slightly wandering thoughts tonight.
All right, thank you, Abby. I do want to point out that the conservatory is passive solar, that I don't know what the flooring is going to be inside there, but if you've got your HVAC system just quirky enough, it'll push warm air all through the house when you need it and all that good stuff. Of course, humid air too. All right, Abby, thank you. Luis.
I think that this is a well-executed project. I don't have any major objections with it. I don't think that we can say anything about the solar panels, and the applicant has already said that this will not be part of the approval. But I think that overall it's a very well thought project, and I don't see any objections to its completion.
All right, thank you, sir. Melinda. Oh, there you are.
The solar was my biggest question, and obviously we're going to postpone talking about that now. Everything else I think is lovely, and I have no objections with anything we saw.
You get the award for brevity. Dennis, what do you think?
I'm working on that award. I think Abby summed up my concerns. Of course, I'm always concerned about windows, and I'm not thrilled with the idea of changing those windows on the original house, and I don't know anything about the age of them. But I frankly would not hold up the project over my concerns about those particular windows. I think the overall design is great. And I agree with everybody else so far that we can do nothing with the solar panels until we see more.
Thank you, Dennis. And Mia.
Pretty much everybody's said everything. I agree this is a great project. Regarding the solar panels, I know we're going to discuss that in the future, but I will say, having gone to look at the panels on at 52 Simon Willard, I could not support those. They looked very different from the asphalt. They were very shiny. They did not look flat to the roof to me. And I think the location so close to Stowe Street, I think it would go against all the other applications that we've had and denied. I think it would be completely unfair to pass this.
Okay.
And I would be hugely in favor of a metal roof. But we, you know, as I say, we will see when you come back, but I just wanted to at least preface my comments on with that.
Thank you, Nia. I'll just go on record by saying that I want us to be able to work more solar and renewable energy into these historic district projects. So I'm eager to see, frankly, what Rosa, if you can come back with a cool proposal, I'm all ears. I love the idea. I love that these manufacturers are trying to figure out a way to, you know, better integrate into older homes. So did you have a comment, Rosa? I saw you raise your hand.
I have a question because I do have a couple of meetings with solar companies coming up. And Nia, your comment was really useful for me. I had been thinking about the matte quality of the panels, but I hadn't been specifically looking at the distance that they are mounted from the roof. And since we have to redo our roof anyway, it may be that some panels can be mounted more closely depending on what kind of roof you have underneath. So that's a really helpful thing for me to be thinking about is, you know, what the distance is from the roof, because that also has to do with camouflaging them. Are there other factors that anybody on the commission can think of so that when I meet with the solar companies, I ask the right questions and learn more about, like I learned that you can't have it come all the way to the edge of a roof in New England. It has something to do with the way snow falls. Because I always thought, gee, if I just came all the way down to the edge, nobody would know it was solar instead of the roof. So I want to become more educated. What other ideas?
Yeah.
Rosa, one thing I would ask them, given that I saw these panels in the pouring rain and they were very shiny, is ask the solar person, you know, what is the difference between how it appears when they're wet and dry, because that may be quite a difference. I don't know. I mean, maybe these panels don't look as bad when it's a sunny day. Maybe they look worse. I don't know, but there may be a distinction according to what the weather is.
I have one other thought, if I may, Abby, and maybe my colleague Luis will back me up here. I think the trick is that this is not it. I've seen solar installations that try too hard to disguise themselves and they end up calling more attention to themselves. Right. So it's okay that it's a contemporary thing. It just has to be sort of work with the overall composition. In fact, it would almost be better if it were clean and contemporary and somehow sat well within the composition than if it somehow hid itself. You know what I mean? That's a tricky place to be. But anyway, that's Abby, you had a question.
So my comment would be, you know, that there may be it might be a balancing act between the efficiency and efficacy of the panels. If you could have 3 panels that were shinier and more visible, but did the same job as 10 or 12 matte, less visible panels, that may be preferable in terms of if we're reducing the scale and scope of how paneled that roof needs to be. So I would talk to them about kind of how efficient and efficacious each individual panel can be, because if you could limit the number, that may be something that would be more appealing than having a whole side of the roof. And then once again, as we said, placement, if it's possible to place them not on the primary structure, but on one of these secondary additional structures, in terms of the centerpiece or the far piece, that might be something that's preferable as well. So I think, you know, you'll have to play around with it. But as Peter said, you know, it's something we like being educated about this as well. We like seeing what the options are out there,
Right.
And seeing what the possibilities are. But it's, you know, it's always a concern, and you have a beautiful, highly visible home.
Southern, and a beautiful, highly visible southern facing home.
So it's something you have to take into consideration.
If I may make a comment, I think that the applicant has a great opportunity, because this is a project where the roof and the solar panels may be considered as a single item. So there may be technical solutions where, you know, if you incorporate the panels into the roof itself, not by having a company that only takes care of solar panels and another company that only takes care of roofs, so but finding the creative person that has managed to combine both things, or somebody who comes up with a technical solution that may be able to combine both things, that would be a great advantage, because I share with Peter our wish to approve more solar panels in Concord. But as Nia said, none of the solar panels we have seen so far could fit in an environment like this, because it's just too precious. So there's another question that you may be able to ask.
There is there's a Norwegian company that is doing a product similar to what Tesla is doing, which is to create roof tile, as you said, Louise, that is integrated. They are not selling into the US because they don't have all the right permissions, and they haven't met the proper regulations yet in the US, which are different from those in Norway. And Tesla has this extraordinary product that's beautiful. It's just untested in snow. And their wait times are absurd, years.
And you don't want to be beta testing that stuff.
No, thank you very much.
Dennis.
Two comments, and I've not taken a close look at it, but if you go down to 9 Acre Corner, and you're going, there are roof tiles there that I think are solar panels. And I saw them the other day, and I have not stopped to look at them. I may be totally wrong, but they're these sort of shiny panels that look like shingles on the house there. I don't know what they are. So it may be worth exploring. The other question is just clarification, because you brought up metal roof today. You're not putting a metal roof, correct? You're putting composite shingles on there?
It was we were arguing in the alternative, either asphalt with a solar array, or if we can't do solar at all, we would ask for a metal roof.
But and the metal roof would go on the whole house?
Yeah, the whole house needs a new roof. Yeah.
Okay. Well, but a metal roof is not historically appropriate.
So a house of our age, pursuant to the reading that I've done, would either have a wood shingle roof or a metal roof. Not exactly, it wouldn't look exactly like classic standing seam that we see now.
Right.
But lightweight tin would have been used on a house of this design and era.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'd love to see more documentation. I'm just not familiar with that. I like metal roofs, but I'm just not familiar with it. That's all.
Yeah, I'm happy to, I can grab they may be in the application, but if they're not, I have the resources that I used when I did that research.
Okay, thanks.
Dennis, I just want to remind you that this project narrative is going into the HTC Project Narrative Hall of Fame already, given the amount of research that's in it. So pile it on. Thank you for all your work, Rosa.
Experience for me. Gee.
Well, this is my third child, this house. So,
it shows. All right. I think have we heard from all the commissioners? Sorry, I went around twice there. but everybody loves this house, so we love to talk about it. Why don't I go out and see if is there any public comment on the application here for work to be done at 19 Sudbury Road? The various addition, renovation, landscape changes. I see a couple of neighbors. I'm looking for raised hands or star nines or people waving at us. Stefano, you're waving. Oh, you're muted though.
Yeah,
Stefan.
I'm gonna have to pay Rosa tuition also for this architectural design course and seminar in how to present your case to the HDC. It's a learning experience for all of us, Rosa. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Stefan. Other comments? I see no raised hand, so why don't I bring it back and look for a motion from the commission? So who's gonna take the plunge? Nia?
I move that we approve the application for 19 Sudbury Road as submitted, with the exception of the roof and the roof design and possible solar array. We understand that the applicant will come back when they're ready to address those issues.
So
Heather?
I'm just going to clarify that that'll need to be a separate application.
The
So-
roof change.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, with a new
Going to be
application.
excluded
with-
from the approval, and you'll need to submit an application.
roof and
for the
solar.
roof.
Okay, so Heather's words.
Unless, sorry, unless the commission wants to approve the metal roof under this approval, and if the applicant wants to do solar and shingle, then she can submit a new application.
So right now it's a metal roof.
I'm saying it's because she gave both options. You could approve it with the metal roof currently, and then that gives her the option, if she just decides not to do solar, she doesn't need to come back for approval for the metal roof. Because you've already approved it.
I'm not ready to approve the metal roof.
Okay, so any roof needs to come back.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
I mean, that's me. You can outvote me if you wanted.
Wait, was that a second though, Dennis? Did you second the?
I'll
motion?
second it. I'll second it, right?
All right. So we have a motion, we have a second. Any clarifications, Nia?
Nope.
Nope. All right. So let's go around. Give me an aye or a nay, please. Nia,
Aye.
Dennis,
Aye.
Melinda,
Aye.
Luis,
Aye.
Abigail,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. That's unanimous. So thank you again, Rosa. That's for an excellent appliation and
Yep,
your
yeah.
design team.
Great project.
Yeah, I was
Great
gonna say,
project.
this is a team effort. This is, it doesn't happen without great people like David and Vivian.
Yes. Thank you
Yep,
both.
aye.
And to your
It's a
landscape
great
architect.
project.
I think your landscape architect's here too, right?
That's David, yep. His
Yeah, he
his
was.
Sorry, Dave.
square- his Hollywood Square says Fisher Design.
All right, I'm drawing a blank. Sorry about that. All right, well, listen, thank you, folks, and thank you again for hosting us, and good luck with the work.
Thanks. And I'll
Thank
get
you
back
so
to you
much.
as soon as I've got, more specifics from the solar folks.
Okay,
And thanks for
terrific.
your input on that.
All right. Well done. Thank you again.
Thank you all. Good night.
Good night. All right, folks, moving right along. So 167 Monument Street, you all know, has been withdrawn. I don't know if anyone's here to comment on that, but I think all we need to do is, do we need to make a motion?
Yeah, we
Heather?
need a motion to accept the withdrawal.
All right, so
I move that we accept the withdrawal of the application for 167 Monument Street without prejudice.
should I
And
have
I'll
asked
second.
for, should I have asked for public comment? Because I actually don't know if anyone's here to comment. Is anyone from the public here for that project or no? Okay, never mind. Dennis and Louise seconded, so you get to choose, Heather. And let's go around. Nia, you made the motion.
Aye.
Aye. Dennis,
Aye.
Melinda,
Aye.
Luis,
Aye.
Abigail,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. I'm a little bit relieved on that one, frankly. All right, that was our last continuance. So we have a new public hearing. And this was supposed to start at 7:15, so as typical, we're running late.
Right on time.
It's HDC time. This is 58 Monument Street. This is an application to remove a roof vent and skylights and replace a roof. And Alec Wade, you are there. There you are. All right, sir. Well, welcome. And Heather, would you mind putting the application up? And Alec, are you going to walk us through it?
Yeah, I'm going to walk you through what we have here tonight, and then I expect you may want further detail on some components as well. So thank you for having me tonight, and thank you for letting me present this project. Hard project to follow, but we'll do our best here. So previously in 2019, we came before this board seeking approval for a roof replacement as well as the removal of the 3 features that you just mentioned in the application. So what you see is the roof of our existing building, 58 Monument Square, more commonly known as the Masonic Temple, or to some as the old Thoreau Teaching House. The existing roof shown is of a slate material, but underneath that material is actually a wood shingle roof. So the combination of the 2 roofing materials over time has taken its toll on the building, and we have made the decision to remove both roofing materials and make a replacement of only one material, significantly decreasing the structural burden on the building. This was done in large part to water infiltration that we've been observing for many years now, due as well to the 2 skylights as well as the mushroom vent that you see on this picture. Last time we were here, we did receive a conditional approval for a faux synthetic slate material. So actually a plastic material shown there, the material, conditional upon the committee's ability to pick the color at a later date. That was so that we could get through our CPC application, which was ultimately disapproved, which we then went back, reapplied, and have now received approval for the CPC application to replace the roof and conduct a historic structures report. Unfortunately, the quotes that we received for the materials have, of course, skyrocketed over time due to COVID-19, and we're seeing a roughly $20,000 increase in the actual material. One thing to clarify in my application, I referenced the use of a potential synthetic wood material, but the CPC did request that we go back to the HDC and broach the topic of using actual wood shingles as opposed to a synthetic material of any type. In acquiring quotes for all 3 materials, the originally approved synthetic slate, the synthetic wood shingle, as well as the original wood shingle, an actual cedar shingle, there was about a $6,000 difference between actual wood and the synthetic material, but overall a $20,000 to $25,000 increase to what we actually applied for in our grant application. We are proposing the use of a synthetic wood material to match the wood appearance that the CPC was expressing a greater interest towards. However, it was, of course, left to our discretion and the HDC's discretion to come up with a solution to this project. The reason for that being is that we will ultimately be using the majority of the grant funds to pay for the cost of the immediate project, that being the roof repairs, which will leave us a decreased budget and have us getting kind of creative as to how to complete the historic structures report. So tonight, I'm looking for guidance from this committee as to how we should proceed as far as which material aesthetically they would prefer. I did leave samples with Heather, which is the material and color that we had initially gone out, received quotes for. But of course, we leave this to your discretion and are open to a dialogue.
All right, thank you, Alec. And I don't know, I wasn't able to go by and see the material. Did anyone else go by and look at the samples? Did you, Nia?
I have them with me. You want me to hold them up, but I don't know how helpful that will be.
So these are
actually, I did look at the material, and the only comment that came to mind was that they all look perfect. You see, from outside, you wouldn't think that they are nothing but the material are supposed to be. Obviously, when you turn them around, they're all plastic. It's quite shocking, but I don't think that there would be any objection on my part, at least, to use them because they look exactly the same as they would look if they were other things.
Thank you, sir. Nia, what did you think?
I have, to my knowledge, have not seen either product on a roof that I was aware of. I thought that the faux slate looked perfectly fine. And I thought the faux wood shingles looked totally not fine. But to Luis's point, I don't know what it's going to look like up on the roof. So when I just saw it in the HDC office, I thought there's no way that's going to look decent. But I mean, I could probably approve the slate, the faux slate, but if I needed to approve the faux wood shingle, I would have to see it first on a building. I have to
Can you
see
tell me
it, drive and
the-
see something somewhere.
Is there a manufacturer name for that material, Alec? Or
Yes, Brava, which is shown in the material packet, is the manufacturer.
Brava synthetic wood shingles? Okay. Let's just let me just keep going around if I may. Dennis, what do you think of this situation?
I did not get by to see it, and so I feel at a disadvantage. And I agree with Nia that just seeing a sample is a lot different than actually seeing it on a structure. So I'd really have no strong opinion on this. I'm not hung up on roof materials, so and I'm not sure. I went by today to look at the structure. Just happened to be going by. I guess you see the roof, but it's not a distinguishing feature of the building that's going to stand out. So I frankly, at this point, have no strong opinion on it.
All right, thank
I know
you,
that's
Melinda.
unusual, but anyway, I have no strong opinion.
Well, if we delay long enough, I can feel one coming. Melinda.
I did not get to see this today either, so I would suggest that if you could point us to somewhere that has the wood synthetic one so that we could take a closer look at that. I also have never seen synthetic
Slate
shingles. Yeah, I've never seen that either. So I wouldn't mind seeing having a reference for that as well.
I would, in the meantime, just ask everybody to go to the manufacturer website, Brava. There are photographs and drone tours of installations. All right, thank you, Melinda. Luis, did you have other thoughts?
No, I don't have. I tend to agree with Nia that some of the samples look better than the others, and the slate actually looks pretty good. But again, you have to see it in person. But I eventually wouldn't have any objection to any of them, I believe.
Okay, thank you. Abby, what do you think?
So I think from a practical perspective, real slate or real wood would be lovely, but they're just not, the slate's not practical cost-wise, and I think maintenance-wise, the real wood would be frankly a mistake. I disagree with the CPC that the wood shingles would be more appropriate. I think continuing with the slate, in this case, the faux slate would be a more appropriate choice. I also think they just simply look more realistic, and I think it will be less of a dramatic change in appearance to the building. So my preference would be to approve, as we did before, the faux slate roof material. I'm sorry it's going to cost you so much more than it did 2 years ago, but I think that's the reality for most projects. So I think obviously removing the skylights and the mushroom vent is a great improvement. My preference would be the faux slate product as opposed to the faux wood shingle product.
All right, I think, is that everybody? I think that's right. And all I would follow on, Alec, is to essentially say what Abby just said, which is I think the change in the roofing material is the issue that I struggle with. That right now it's a slate roof. It would switch to a shingle roof which would just that's sort of more objectionable than the faux slate. I think the faux shingle can be made to look okay, but it's odd that the CPC wanted you to go in that direction, to be honest. Okay, well, I'm not sure we're being entirely helpful here. Can you remind me, Alec, is there a question? Can you not proceed if we don't approve the wood shingle?
So
you
I
stuck?
now I guess we kind of have a temperature for the room as to which material is most preferred. So actually, Heather, would you be able to put back up the product pamphlet real quick? So regarding the material we've chosen, there's about an 8-week lead time for manufacturing on this. So if we are indeed proceeding with the faux slate, which it appears we are, ideally it would be great if we could actually pick a color. So the ones that we've brought into the office are the ones we received a quote for. However, as you can see, they do have other samples as well, or other sample colors. If the committee was willing to select a color tonight, that would allow us to proceed forward, make the order, and actually bring it in, which would hopefully allow us to actually complete this before we see any heavy snowfall. That's our ideal situation is we can complete the roof work in what's roughly going to be a 2-month time frame and get it done before January hits, where we're going to see more consistent and frequent snowfall.
Have they told you if there's a lead time issue in any particular color?
I would default, the president of our board is also here, Dan Consoletti. Dan, do you have any impression if there's something different?
Good evening.
Hi, Dan.
The lead time for the material itself is anywhere between 6 to 8 weeks to get in. That's the lead time, and about between a month and a half to put it up.
But it doesn't matter which color. It's not like they're like gray takes longer than red or anything like that. It's just overall manufacturing material.
Right. Well, we are going to go with Brava because they have the best warranty out there. So.
And Heather, what was the color that in the sample? I remember the sample. It's one of the gray slate?
The color samples I have with me are Washington, Light Arundel, and then that's it.
And Alec, are those the two you narrowed it down to, the two colors?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, but yes, I believe so.
I'm happy with either one of those.
You are happy with either one. I don't have a strong preference. They're both a kind of gray. Remind me, in the existing roof slate, is there some green in it, or is that from staining from over like copper?
If you look at it, they're all different colors.
Okay,
There's been spot fixes over time, obviously discoloration from the vents. And as you can see, the left side versus the right side are using roughly different materials all around.
Okay. We don't want to duplicate that necessarily.
The lower roof, what's that lower roof that we're looking at that's gray?
In the rear of the property,
the
lower roof is, I believe, an asphalt shingle. That was for the addition that was built in the 1900s.
Well, doesn't it make sense to do something on the front of the building that's at least going to harmonize with that? Or not? What do you think, Peter?
Yeah, I think either of those grays looks like it would work.
Yeah, I agree.
I can't exactly. So we could leave it up to the applicant's discretion. Is there a strong feeling from the commission? I mean, of course, I'd love to be able to have.
Heather, could you put zoom in on the two color choices again? The light Arundel and the.
It's right
up again.
Yeah.
Okay. Should I stop screen sharing so you can see me bigger? This is the light Arundel.
Mm-hmm.
And then, right? Yes. And then This is Washington.
Huge difference.
They look the same.
Well, just even on the website, the light Arundel is a cooler gray and the Washington is a warmer, it has more color in it. So my preference, frankly, even just from the website, is the Washington slate. I guess I'd want to look at them one more time in person. What do you think, Alec? Do you have who's your aesthetic expert over there? Do you have a color person that's going to take the fall for the color choice?
You know, I gotta admit that's probably going to be me taking the fall for anything. My impression just from looking at the overhead view compared to the old building is that the Washington is, as you said, a little warmer tone and matches a little bit more just the texture and the feel of the original.
I mean, it has a little bit of red in it and all, and frankly, I think it would look kind of cool to get close to that original blend, if that's probably the wrong word.
I think the Washington is a perfectly appropriate choice.
Okay.
Okay. And then I should mention as well, so it was brought to my attention that I unintentionally excluded something from the application. So I recognize that this will likely require an additional application. But with this installation, we're also looking to do gutter downspouts to defer some of the flow of water. As you may be aware, we did a previous repointing project using color matching on the grout, which has had a significant impact on water infiltration to the lower levels of the building. But the downspouts we felt were necessary to continue to preserve the structure and foundation.
That could be done as an amendment, or does that have to be a separate?
Because it wasn't listed in the legal ad,
Okay.
it would need to be a new application.
Okay. All right, so that's, Alec, you understand that it just has to be a separate.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll work with Heather to go ahead and get that on whenever the earliest meeting that it can accommodate.
Okay. I think we have heard from everyone on this particular project. So have I heard from everyone? I think I have. Why don't I go out and see if is there any public comment on the proposed work at 58 Monument Square in this application? There's one person from the public and I don't see his hand raised. So I think I bring it back to the commission for a motion.
I move that we approve the application for 58 Monument Square to remove the roof vent and skylights and to replace the roof with Brava Washington faux slate.
Second.
All right, second. And Alec, does that make sense? And Dan, is that good? Okay. All right, let's go around and tell me if you're in favor or not. Mia,
Aye.
Dennis,
Aye.
Melinda,
Aye.
Luis,
Aye.
Abigail,
Aye.
and I'm an aye as well. All right, well, thank you, gentlemen. I'm sorry to stick with the slate, but we think it will look best.
Not a problem. Thank you so much for your time tonight. We really appreciate it. I'll get started on the gutters next.
Okay,
Great.
Thank you both. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Alec.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
All right, folks, I think we are, is that it? God, that-
Minutes.
Minutes.
Yes,
Yeah,
no,
minutes.
that was our last new hearing, right? Heather, nothing came in since then. All right. All right, so we do, so
No.
that concludes the regular meeting. We have minutes. These are the minutes from
July 1st or July 2nd.
7/1. Have our other officers read them and commented?
Yes,
I read them. I had no comments.
I read them. 2 typos I've sent in.
All right.
I read them and had no objections.
They were non-threatening.
That sounds good enough for me.
And I was
can
not there, so.
Could I have a motion to approve those minutes, please?
So moved.
Second.
Second, and all in favor, just raise your hand since we're in other business. And you've got an
Aye.
anonymous approvals, Heather and Heather, thank you both.
Abby looks
Excellent
like
minutes.
she's about to die.
I have
Can't do that long.
How are you feeling?
3 weeks from today will be the last possible day I could be pregnant. So I'm in the home stretch. But
yeah, sitting for that length of time is starting to not be an option.
Oh, boy.
Poor
All right,
Abby.
well, so wait,
Oh,
we'll see you
well.
one more time potentially.
You'll see me one more time unless for some reason this giant baby decides to come early, which he might.
Wow. Then we'll have
Well,
another
be
member on
well.
the commission.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
we'll be thinking about you. All right, any other business that folks have?
Yeah, I
or-
want, I want to make a
Yes,
motion to recognize Nia as the most accurate, precise, and efficient motions today. She did all of them,
I'll second
and none
that.
of them had any problems.
yes, well done.
No comments, no nothing.
Take note, take note. All right, well, thank you all.
Thank you.
Nice to see you all.
Goodbye.
Heather and
All
Heather,
right.
thank you for all your
Thanks,
support.
Heather. Thanks, Peter.
Yes, Abby, be well, and we'll see you all soon.
Yes,
Thanks,
thank you.
everybody.
Bye-bye.